Hello everybody, welcome back to Pine and Berry Homestead. I have taken a little bit of a hiatus from posting YouTube videos. I just needed a little bit of a break. I've had some really important things that have taken up my mental capacity that I really needed to think about and focus on, but now that I'm kind of through the thick of that, I thought it would be a good idea to just take you on a little bit of a tour just to show you what the beginning of the July garden looks like. Things are starting to fill in. It's looking really great. Everything's really healthy. But also, the month of June was extremely rainy here in Maine. I mean, I think we only saw the sun maybe 3 days. Otherwise, it was just raining constantly. I'm not complaining because that means I didn't have to water, but it was just kind of tough. So I'm going to take you guys in right now. Our little froggies and the straw flowers behind them are looking really, really good. We have some straw flowers on that side too. I asked my husband not to mow this area because there's tons of clovers and other wildflowers throughout, and I kind of wanted to keep those for the pollinators. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. As you can see, the garden is looking fantastic. Everything is really, really filling in and growing so well. All the rain we got has helped, but it has also hurt a little bit. So let me just set my drinks down here. So this is the Vigo garden bed that we planted beets and carrots in. And we also direct sowed the sweet pea flowers. And I had put the cucumber plants that I started in this bed as well, but those got killed from the rain. So I decided to try direct sowing the cucumber plants, which I've never done before. And they're actually looking really, really good. The beets are having a little bit of an issue, which is surprising, but it's not. Let me see if I can find an example. Okay, so all the rain that we've gotten is causing the beet roots to grow kind of funny. Like, almost like dying off. So I'm kind of coming through here and picking the ones that look that way because I don't think they're gonna survive anyway, but I mean, the beets are looking really good in general. And the same thing happened to the carrots. So all the carrots were coming up beautifully, but then all that rain came and like kind of killed them off. They just kind of died. So it's kind of been an issue that we've been facing. The beets over there are looking really good as well. Excuse me. And our pea trellis is looking fabulous. We've been coming out here and pulling off peas every single day. I actually have some that I need to pick. Might as well do that now. So I planted radishes in the middle of this bed, but they're starting to go to seed. They didn't really grow well. I think I got one perfect radish out, but the rest are starting to go to seed. So I'm just going to let that happen and probably collect the seed from the radishes to save for next year. Honestly, my son has picked off most of the peas that have been growing and been like just snacking on them in the garden for whatever reason, he doesn't really care for cooked vegetables. He would much prefer the raw, fresh veggies. Okay. And then right here, I direct sowed Jack B. Little pumpkin seeds. I believe that's what I put there. And they're coming up beautifully. And here is my pepper graveyard, the ones that just didn't make it into the ground. I still might try though and see what happens. Here in this pot we have cantaloupe. That's what I put in here. I put cantaloupe in the pot because I just didn't feel like I had the space in my raised beds to let it just vine out and do its thing. But check out this raised bed. Now I planted out all kinds of different summer squashes and I did not put a marker to tell me which is which. So it's going to be a surprise when they grow, but that's okay. I know that's a summer squash right there. And we have an eggplant. I'm not really great at growing eggplant, but I try every single year. And these are no, that's not what it is. I don't know what kind of peppers those are. Let me see. Looks like they're the Jedi hot peppers, but I mean, we've gotten so much rain, so it doesn't surprise me that there's something going on with them. It is what it is, and we just got to roll with the punches at this point. Our celery is looking wonderful. That's always something I'm proud of growing, because I hear that a lot of people tend to struggle with celery. So whenever I grow it, and I can grow a lot of it to put in our freezer to use all year long, it just makes me so happy. And then we have the Ragged Jack kale. This is a cauliflower. I'm not sure if it's starting to form a head yet or not. We have our dazzling blue kale. And then we just have more peppers sprinkled throughout. There's some behind here too. We have some basil. There's some sage in this bed, and we have a few different kinds of tomatoes. And I just did the Florida weave method to hold up these tomatoes. It really is not perfect. I'm literally just working with whatever I have because, you know, trying to save money is important, and using what you have on hand is super important. So we'll see how it works. It's doing its job right now. As the tomato plants get bigger, I'll put like another section of this hemp rope. It's actually really strong, so hopefully it holds it up well. And our beautiful sunflower, I have no idea what kind it is, but it's still beautiful. And as you can see right here, our rattlesnake pole beans are doing wonderful. They're starting to vine up. So that means soon we will have our favorite rattlesnake pole beans. And then in this bed is our garlic. So I'm thinking probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks it will be ready to harvest. What we're looking for is the bottom, what they say is like the bottom 3 leaves to die back. But I think I'm going to try something a little bit different. Oh no. Oh no. There's a snail on my garlic. The pests are just absolutely out of control this year. I'm just going to toss that over the fence. Sorry, dude. Oh. Anyway, I think what I'm going to be looking for my garlic this year is that there be like 1, 2, maybe just the top 4 leaves remaining. But I'm just going to keep a close eye on it. I did pull a garlic head the other day and they were looking really good. So probably in 2 to 3 weeks we will have garlic. I've already come out here and cut all the scapes off of them. So I have a bunch of those in my fridge. We did try to make the fried scape rings that Baker Creek, Baker Creek did like a reel on it and it looked so yummy. But I think I need to find a different batter recipe. Anyway, so cabbage and broccoli in the middle. I've actually already come out and harvested the heads, like the big heads from these broccoli plants, and they're starting to send off the side shoots. So every few days I'll come out and collect the broccoli from the side shoots. But I did take the main head off. I'm not sure how that one's gonna do, but we'll see. And these cabbages, I mean, look at that one. Like, that's picture perfect right there. Absolutely beautiful. Again, have no idea what squash this is, but I planted it anyway. I didn't want to waste any plant starts. I see a lot of male flowers, which are the ones on these very long stems. I'm not seeing any of the squash start yet. That's just a weed. And over here, we have a lot of weed pressure in the bed, but I direct sowed some winter squash. I don't know if this was the butternut or the starry night squash, but we will find out. I'm just going with the flow here, trying to fill up all these spaces. Onions. This is another broccoli that I took the main head off of. In the center here that you can see, that's where I cut it, and it's growing these side shoots, so we'll get more than one harvest. And again, some more rattlesnake pole beans growing up the trellis on both sides. And there's our onions. These ones are doing okay. Not great, but okay. These are a flower, and I don't really remember what it's called. I'll remember it when I'm done taking this video, I'm sure. There's another eggplant, not doing fantastic. Here's another broccoli. This one I should probably harvest soon. That's the main head, but it's starting to like separate a little bit. So I think that needs to be harvested very shortly here. And here's our basil. So I'm attempting to make this more bushier. So what I'm doing is I'm coming through and looking for, I already cut this one, but for example, if you can see at this node right here, there's leaves growing. I would just kind of snip at the top, and then these guys would start growing up and out. It's another flower, no idea what it is. And our nasturtiums are starting to grow. Very exciting. We got some rogue carrots growing. I planted those like forever ago. They never came up, and now they're starting to, so that's great. Here's another squash. And as you can see, so the flowers that are on these tall, thin stems, they're the male flowers. And right here, where you can see the baby squash growing, that's the female. So hopefully those start opening up soon so the squash can get pollinated. And this one, I know this one's the sunburst scallop squash. And as you can see, we have a ton on here. So as soon as those flowers open up on the females, the male, what I'd probably do is hand pollinate by taking a male flower and just hand pollinating it. But that's going to produce so much. There's already so much on there, which is crazy. This is our dill, and it's starting to go to seed. So I am just kind of coming out and taking the seed part off, the flowering part, so that it encourages the dill to continue to grow. And then down here is more onions. These ones are actually looking pretty good. I did come out and top the onions because they were getting a little top heavy, and they're nowhere ready to be harvested yet. So I thought I would try this trick that I've seen people do and top the onions just to see if that helps them grow larger. I am horrible at growing onions, but I will not give up. And then we have some Tulsi basil right there. Very aromatic. It does have medicinal properties as well. And for a while, I actually didn't like using Tulsi basil in anything. For some reason, the smell of it was off-putting to me. But this year, I'm finding myself enjoying the smell of it. So this one's also starting to go to seed. Oops. If you can see that little part right there. So I'm just going to top it. And I'll probably use it for tea. And you can see that there's a couple little leaves starting to form right there. So that will encourage this plant to bush out and grow more. And this guy there. That's a really good example. Right there, we have two new leaves growing, so we have some growth coming out, and I'm just going to take it and top it right above there so it doesn't go to seed and it continues to grow. More onions that I topped. I'm going to see how that works. I have put so many sunflowers in all of my beds. I just love sunflowers so much. That kale is looking fantastic. More rattlesnake pole bean action happening. It's all gonna vine up and just go right over. And I believe this is like a baby watermelon. I forget exactly what it's called. I'm hoping it vines up the trellis, but we will see. I'll fix that in a minute. More celery, more nasturtiums, my rutabaga. So we're still having a cutworm problem. I'm doing the best that I can to eradicate them, but it's still a struggle. I mean, we're down to 3 onions in this bed, and there was 9 in each square. So I don't know what to do anymore. And here's a good example of the Florida weave on some tomatoes. These ones were all flopping over, so this was hard to do, but I did it. And there's another winter squash poking through. And in this bed, we have 2 different kinds of pumpkins growing. So exciting. This one took forever to poke through the ground. So I planted more winter squash. So it might get a little congested in this area, but we're just going to go with it and see what happens. And here's some yarrow. And our corn is actually looking fantastic. I couldn't be happier, and My son is just super excited when he comes out and sees it. And in this bed, I just did all cut flowers. There's cosmos in the front. I believe that's a zinnia. Tons of sunflowers in here. I also did the Love Lies Bleeding Amaranthus, or amaranth, and some other random flowers, but I thought this would be really pretty and bring some joy and color into the garden. And that way I can also have some cut flowers. I thought that would be lovely. You have to have beauty as well as functionality. Check out this mullein. Like, starting to bloom. So the flowers, I've seen people use them for making an infused oil for earaches. Now, I've seen people put the oil inside their ears when they have an ear infection. I'm not so sure that that's how I'd use it. I've also seen people talk about putting oil like around their ear on the outside. So I am going to attempt to make the oil and make medicine, but I don't think I'd be putting the drops of it in my ear. But at some point I will collect the leaves as well to use as medicine. And let's see. This is the last little part. I mean, this was empty and now it's full of water because it just rained and rained and rained. Over here's our feverfew that can be used for fevers, like the name suggests, but it can also be used for headaches, which is mainly what I'd be using it for. It's not flowering yet, but it's growing beautifully. And then we have our chamomile and our lemon balm, my absolute favorite plant ally. It's something I use frequently. It just smells so lovely, and it's growing fantastic. And here's my absolute favorite view of the garden, just sitting here in the corner, taking in all the hard work that we've put in to get where we are. This garden is nowhere close to being done. As you can see, I had laid down a bunch of cardboard on the perimeter of the garden, but it's getting taken over by weeds, and that's what we're trying to prevent. But I'm still in the process of deciding if we want to do in-ground garden beds around the perimeter or if I want to build some more raised beds. Just not 100% sure at this time, but it's something for us to think about. Isn't this just lovely? It is so peaceful and just, I can't explain the feeling that the garden gives me. I just feel so at peace. Despite all the hard work, all the sweat, and all the tears, I just feel at peace when I'm in the garden and around these plants. And I'm sure many of you can agree with me. I feel like it is absolutely healing my soul. And it's what I'm supposed to be doing. If I could do this as my full-time job, I would die happy. I cannot explain the healing that gardening brings and has brought into me personally. And, you know, my why is providing food for my family, healthy, organic, whole food to my family. And the fact that I get to bring my 4-year-old out into the garden with me and he gets excited about picking a pea and eating it right off the vine, you know, it just makes me so happy. And if I could just do this full time and focus all of my energy and attention on it, I absolutely would. I am so proud of where we are and how far that we have come, because this was I almost gave up, guys. Like, I almost threw in the towel and said, fuck this, like, I can't do this because it is so hard. And the other day, my husband looks at me and he says, was it worth it? And I said, abso-freaking-lutely. Like, I am so proud that he encouraged me, first of all. He's like, besides my mother, Ben is my #1 supporter. I'm so thankful that he encouraged me and he made sure I didn't give up, because we wouldn't be where we are now. I wouldn't have a bed full of sunflowers and other flowers growing. Wouldn't have corn growing. Wouldn't have our favorite pole beans growing. My son wouldn't be able to come out and pick some peas off the vine and eat them right here in the garden. So really, if you're starting raw, starting fresh, and you feel like it's so hard that you just want to pull your hair out and cry, or whatever feeling comes up for you, just take a breath and tell yourself that it's going to be worth it. I mean, like I said, we're fighting pests. I am fighting cutworms. I have never experienced such a horrible pest in my life. Like, these things are horrible and they're destructive, and it's discouraging when I come out here and I see that one of my plants is gone because of a cutworm. But there's so much more growing, and I keep putting seeds in the ground, and I just keep trying, and I'm not going to give up, because the satisfaction that I am going to get when I harvest, that's a big deal to me. So thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I just wanted to give you a quick update on the July garden, and I do plan on posting more videos. I just needed to take a little bit of a mind break and kind of focus on some things that are going on in my personal life, to give myself some time to think and breathe. And now I'm going to be back at it every day. Well, probably not posting videos every day, because that's a lot to ask when I'm working full-time, but I'm trying for at least 1 or 2 videos a week, and I can't wait to start showing you some harvest videos. We're going to have a lot of stuff coming out of here soon. So thanks for hanging out with me. Have a good one.